This is the 1975 Kawasaki Z1 B, also known as the New York Steak. That's what it was back in the early 70s when Mr. Hamawaki and a few others got together and decided to make a super bike. Well, little did they know that Honda decided to one-up them and produce the Honda 754, which came out first. So they said, we got to make it bigger. So they made it 903 cc's, and it came out in 72, released to the US market in 73. The 73 is the Z1 900, the 74 is the Z1A, and this 75 is Z1B. The reason I like this one is because it's the last year and it's a very sculpted tank, and also has improved performance, and it's missing the chain oiler and a few other accoutrements that were on the early models. Now, with that said, I had a 73 one, which everyone wants, first year, orange and brown. Everyone knows, I know. I sold it to get this one because I think this is a better bike. It's a better performance, it's better looking. Came out in 1972 as the most powerful four-cylinder Japanese street bike available. They did some testing on this bike. Actually, the 72, they did early testing at Daytona track. It did lap records of 109 miles an hour, and a Yoshimura tuned bike actually did 160 miles an hour in one lap, setting FIM and AMA records for this bike. It's pretty darn fast. Now, when this came out, it was the only bike with the dual overhead cam system, with the exception of the MV Agusta 750S, which at the time had the same features, but it was twice as much, and to be honestly, not quite the same league as the Z1 series is. Also, more notes on this particular 75. It had a better suspension than previous models, a stiffer frame, and different side panels in the tank, obviously. Paint colors were only prevalent for this year, 75. This is a dark blue green. I don't know what it's called, but it's really nice.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a sky blue green, I think it is. This one also has a few extra features on it, such as the oil cooler, which is a dealer installed option, and the dual disc brake, which is also very rare. Now, normally I restore these bikes, but this one I didn't. I could have, but I know a guy who has been building this one for quite some time. I've been following his blog, and this was going to be the creme de la creme of Z1 bikes, 75 series. He wasn't going to sell it. It took me a couple of years to convince him that I should be the owner of this bike, and he regrets it now. He keeps calling me back and whining like a big baby. Can I have my bike back? I'm like, no fucking way. I said, this thing is too nice. He goes, do you have it tuned? I said, well, of course I have it tuned. You know, what else do I do?
That guy screwed up.
Yeah, he did. He did. This is arguably one of the best bikes that I own of my whole collection. As we know in the previous video, I have quite a few nice bikes, but I really enjoy riding this. It runs as good as it looks, starts on the first tick, never gives me any problems. I'll ride this thing anywhere. It's just a fabulous bike. Everything works just as it should. I'll just start it up and see how well it goes. Starts on the first tick, runs great. I only run non-ethanol gas in my vintage bikes due to the carburation. It's tough to get in this town, but it's worth it.
Yeah,
Sta-Bil is okay, but it's not nearly as good as non-ethanol, or even racing gas is just as good.
It's seasonal here, and it's horrible to get.
It's horrible. I stow up with about 5 cans of it every year. It lasts me the winter, but just barely. So we're unfortunate in this town as that goes. This bike, actually, there's a sister bike to it called the Kawasaki Z2, or known as the Kawasaki 750, and that was only JDM, Japan to domestic market. And because they didn't export it, the Japanese had a law that said the maximum cc's is only 750, and so they made a bike for their market only. Very similar to this bike. It's a little detuned, a little different. Essentially, it looks the same, so If you see one over here in the States, very rare, very high price. There's been a lot of knockoffs trying to be sold at auctions recently, we all know. But if you get a real Z2 or a Z750, that's quite a collector bike. Looks the same, but it's not. It's a little bit smaller. So hopefully that'll be in my future, but that's going to cost a lot of money. This bike I plan on holding on to for a long time. I've got it running perfect. It's tuned great. It's a great rider bike. And there's nothing like a Z1. Now, after 75, they came out in 1976 with the KZ series, which is similar to this. A few improvements here and there, but they're not nearly as rare or sought after as the Z1 series. So those are good bikes, there's no question about it, but collectability, the Z1 series from 73 through 75 are the ones to get. Everything works on this bike just as it should. I did the carburetors, and those were kind of gummed up. Took a lot of finagling and tuning to get them just right, but I've got them to where they're running just about perfect right now.
It sure sounds good when you start it.
Yeah, it does, and it'll start that way on the first hit cold every time. This bike has some really unique stuff that's Z1 only. You can see the ducktail kind of fender here, as well as this tapering off here. Very unique looking. The black gauges and headlamp is a really nice addition to this. There's a few aftermarket pieces on it, but not much. It was pretty much faithfully restored to an original condition, but it does have an electronic ignition on it and new brake pads and things like that. Nothing that's really going to detract from this being a fairly original example. So it's a good bike to have. If you find one, get one. The 73s are great. I had them. There's nothing wrong with them, but I prefer the 75, and I'm sure you will too if you get across this color in this bike. So 750 H2C, highly collectible. These things take a while to kickstart, right, Chris?
You're right, they do.
How many kicks do you think it's going to take to start it up?
I'm going to go with 4, 5.
Okay. Here, it's cold, right? Oh, this is hot. No, just kidding. It's cold, man. Okay, so fuel's on. Put it on position. We'll put the enricher on. Turn the key on, of course. And see how cold two-stroke will start up, maybe. Terrible, isn't it? Can you say something? Can't freaking hear ya. And we're idling. Cold. Get that perfume on you. Two-stroke.
You know, you can get accused of a lot of things, but
Yeah.
having bad taste is not one of them. These bikes are amazing.
They really are. I rode that around for a while the other day. Holy shit, that thing is fun. And now on to all the quirks and features. Kickstart, along with electric start. How odd is that? We've got dual overhead cam. Only the MV Agusta at twice the price had dual overhead cam. Look at these exhausts, 4x4 exhaust, really nice. It's got dual discs, it's got the oil cooler, it's got the big brake reserve here. This color is magnificent. It's kind of a teal blue, it's got sparkles in it, and the frame is powder coated with electronic ignition, modern upgrade, but nice. Kawasaki, baby, let the good times roll.
Oh, smoke.